Hello, and welcome to another fully live episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinzie. I am a security researcher at Varonis, and today I am here to talk about Hackaday Supercon and also answer your ethical hacking questions, provided they're not conspiracy theories. Good to see everyone in the chat. Starting a little late today as my computer is running hot and loud, but we are up and running for now at least, and we'll see how it goes. I wanted to also start out by talking about a couple nifty gadgets I saw over the last couple of weeks. I always keep my eye on things that are interesting to hackers and that are affordable on places like AliExpress. And this little dongle is actually something I was kind of impressed by. So this is an infrared adapter. It comes with an application that lets you pair, or not pair, but select different types of remotes. And it's basically the Flipper IR feature where you can interact with any infrared remote control that you have the codes to, but this time just using your phone. So, sometimes my Flipper isn't charged, or I just want to be able to turn something down or turn something off. Maybe I lose my remote control at home. And this little dongle is certainly a lot cheaper than a Flipper. And while it's not as performative, it's not going to reach out as far. It is pretty handy, I have to say. Now, the number one downside to this cheap little gadget is, if you have your phone normally like this, that's one thing. But if you have your phone with this thing plugged in, pointing like upside down at a source, like a TV or something, and then, it's going crazy and you're the only one holding their phone like upside down with the thing stuck into it, kind of like that, it's a little suspicious. It's definitely not as low key as maybe pairing a Flipper, putting it somewhere discreet where it's still pointing in the right direction, and then using the app to connect via Bluetooth and then turn it off. As soon as I got this, I realized that one of the primary benefits of the Flipper is that you can control it remotely. So like, let's say, I don't know, you were at a restaurant and you wanted to turn off a very, very loud TV that was annoying everyone. Well, theoretically, if you wanted to do that, you could take your Flipper, you could put it somewhere on the table or just kind of peeking out of your bag. And then you can use the application to connect to it over Bluetooth and, do everything that you want to do, but not obviously touching it. This is the complete opposite. So yes, definitely a little bit more suspicious. I really, really miss Flipper's ability to hide while sending infrared commands, but this is, this is pretty cool. I am pretty interested in seeing if there's any further applications for this. In particular, what I like about it is there's a number of smart TVs where if you just connect to them over Bluetooth, you can initiate a pairing request. However, you have to be able to see the screen of the TV and press like a button on the remote control in order to complete the pairing. You have to press like confirm. I've had this happen a number of times, and because my phone didn't have any sort of infrared emitting ability, I wasn't able to complete the pairing request when I was doing these tests. So now that this little USB Type-C infrared dongle exists, I can now, if I'm auditing, for example, a smart TV, initiate a Bluetooth pairing request and then press OK to pair, and then I can control that TV over its remote application. Most of these TVs have like branded apps that can control them very easily, and convenience is usually prioritized over security. So that's how I think that this would be useful to hackers. So if you've been looking for a cool little infrared adapter, maybe, I don't think it's going to replace your Flipper Zero, and it's not going to be subtle, but I think you might actually enjoy it. Another little thing I just wanted to point out, these are becoming so cheap. So this is the USB plug, yes, but I was recently like quoted on all these ways that like hidden cameras are becoming harder and harder to spot. And this is one of the ones I wanted to point out. This is a little hidden camera I acquired for, I think this was like $8 or so. And it's not perfect for sure, but it has a little front plate that clicks over it. I've taken it off, and you kind of see it there. There's a little camera lens like in the center. And the idea is that anything that can be plugged in and left for long periods of time is going to be able to have a power supply and then just sit there and wait until there's movement and then record. This I did a little test on, and I found that it really reacted to things like shadows and whatever. So having a street in front of you and then having cars go by tends to cause like rapid rises and falls in shadow and brightness. And that meant that this just recorded lots of nonsense and not very many actual things. However, I will say that if you see one of these black little, USB plugs that are facing in a direction that's sensitive, especially if it doesn't really have anything plugged into it, then this is an easy way to install a hidden camera. It requires no batteries, and a lot of these also have Wi-Fi included. So be on the lookout for these creepy little hidden cameras. Like, I just wanted to see exactly how hard it was to find. These ones actually do not broadcast. They have a little SD card that you have to go back and you'd have to like get the SD card from it if you wanted to recover the footage. So of all the various ways of detecting these, I would say that like detecting the lens is always going to be the best bet, because this one, again, doesn't broadcast any radio signal. So if you were going to look for Wi-Fi or something, it wouldn't be as useful. I'm also just pointing out it's pretty terrible build quality. There's a camera, like a little camera lens jammed in here, but if I poke it by accident, it actually pops in and changes its angle. So now I'm sure it's like showing a partial view of the inside of this little thing. That's what you get for less than $10. But you should be aware that anything that's plugged in continuously in like a space like an Airbnb or a hotel or whatever, that's facing a sensitive area should be examined for camera lenses. If there's none, then you're good to go. But if there is a little hole cut in this like glass spherical lens right there, like you should be aware that these are getting really cheap. So after I was interviewed the last time for talking about detecting hidden cameras, and I was, again, mostly focusing on like the Wi-Fi aspect of it, I just wanted to go out and see like what the actual cost of these hidden cameras are. So about $10, and some of these, again, do not broadcast any radio signal. So even though I think I did a pretty good interview on how you can detect these if they're broadcasting radio, these ones are not. So you'll have to go back to the old-fashioned way of looking for lens reflections, which is actually surprisingly. Let's see. Okay, here's a question, and I'm going to try to understand it because I'm a little sleepy today. Question: if I want to brute force some password, but making it more fun to do so and more functional, are there any ideas or tools we can use to build a circuit hardware that brute forces the password? That's actually a really interesting project. Typically, you're going to use like a GPU or something to do that sort of cracking, and making your own GPU sounds hard, but making your own GPU rig might not be as hard. So this would be probably like a GPU hacking project where you're tying together some GPUs, or maybe some like even some CPUs that have been like left over from other projects or that happen to be particularly cheap, and making it so you can do that cracking on your own. Nowadays, you're in pretty stiff competition with really cheap cloud computing, and a lot of hacking stuff is just a matter of harnessing some of these cheap cloud compute assets and using them to run through. So I'm not going to say like Google Cloud Shell, but certainly some free online tools that are capable of spinning up a pretty powerful computer are capable of doing this sort of password cracking if asked to do it in the right way. So getting access to free cloud resources is typically like a little faster to do nowadays than gathering or scavenging some hardware and like putting together a password cracker, but it's not impossible. And in fact, it sounds like a pretty cool project. All right, so speaking of cool projects, oh man, there's a lot of stuff to go through. So let's start talking about the Supercon in the entire conference. So lots to talk about there. I'm going to start, before I get too ahead of myself, by talking about the meetup that we did. So at Supercon, I created a mesh network, part of the Meshtastic network, but this one was just called like the Supercon network. And it was a channel for attendees to discuss things and also to attend our Meshtastic meetup at Null Space Labs. So I set a number of Meshtastic nodes up, and I don't think I have any pictures of them, but I basically provided Meshtastic access to the conference attendees and like put out announcements about the meetup. After a while, a bunch of people ended up coming to our meetup at Null Space Labs. We had several people from SoCal Mesh, which was really cool. SoCal Mesh is the local Meshtastic network in Los Angeles, and it's quite well developed. It has a lot of repeaters and has very, very good access. So we got to just talk to people about Meshtastic, adversarial attacks, and how by setting their settings maliciously or setting their settings very, very wrong, they could actually create sinkholes in a local area where messages could not get out. And they could also degrade the quality of the service by basically setting their hop limit very, very high, or having devices that are forwarding packets but are in a really, really terrible area. So it was cool to talk a little bit about the offensive side of Meshtastic. And that was probably one of my favorite, I guess, just wins from that conference, was getting people together to talk about mesh networking and encryption, and also how you could attack all the stuff that we were building. It was a super cool discussion. So if anybody from that meetup is here on the stream, thank you for coming. It was a really fun night, and I should have ordered more pizza. All right, so that aside from organizing the meetup, I also was working on getting my SAOs, or simple add-ons, up and running. So at the conference, this was my badge, and I'm going to turn it on. And it's so bright. It's so incredibly bright. But I've got two 3D printed QR codes, and those 3D printed QR codes are actually illuminated by these ultraviolet LEDs, or ultraviolet LEDs. So they are charging this. So when I turn it off, the QR codes glow really brightly. And then over here, I just have a green Mr. Yuck. So let me turn this off so you can see him a little better. I really like Mr. Yuck. I am constantly told that he is like a highly regionally specific character, and he is a poison control symbol that was supposed to teach children which objects would cause them to be sick if they ate it. You can also see that this tongue is actually UV reactive. So a person came and helped us out with a little bit of paint. And actually, it was the creator of the jumperless breadboard, came over and gave us a little bit of UV paint right on Mr. Yuck's tongue. So when it's hit with UV light, it really, really glows. The other thing that's cool is Mr. Yuck is made out of the same glow-in-the-dark 3D printed plastic that the QR codes are. So yeah, not only does Mr. Yuck and the tongue all glow together, but when you take the light off, it continues to glow. Highly reactive to UV light, and the back of it is just a couple wires. So I got to play in the SAO competition and participate, even though I will say, you know, my original plan is still in production. I haven't gotten the boards back yet. But how did I do this? How was I able to make an SAO that lights up and is cool and looks interesting and kind of like do an SAO like day of the conference? Well, okay, I'm going to share this project that I came across. Oh, and of course I'm on the wrong thing. Here it is. All right, highly customizable SAO. So this saved my ass, and I hope that maybe it saved someone else's ass too. This is a SAO, or simple/shitty add-on, depending on which camp you subscribe to, that was developed for the ham radio village. So their idea was, oh my God, I have to get this thing done. If I don't get this thing done, I'm gonna get in trouble, and I have to make like 50 of these. How can I do it in a way that makes sense? I will argue that they achieved like 80% of that in this design. I think that the last part of this design is crazy, and it involves like a lot of hot glue. But let's go through how you would make an SAO just in one day. So the key to that is this 3D object. Let's see. Here we go. And this is an SAO for a single LED, but that doesn't need to limit you, right? There's LEDs that automatically blink. There's flicker flame LEDs. There's all sorts of LEDs that actually have built-in drivers that allow them to do cool stuff. And you don't need a microcontroller because they've already got a little baby one built in. So if I wanted to make a badge that is on one side, like a cool sticker or a 3D printed object with an LED stuck through it doing something, then I could totally do that with this. So obviously that's a pretty cool blank canvas to work with. And this is the size of like a keyed SAO add-on. And that makes sure that you put it in the correct way. It's kind of fancy, honestly. So this was the object that I printed out. And I made a couple of these and turned 2 of them into SAOs at the conference. So let's go through the process. So I modified this a little bit, actually, because I have one of these new bamboo printers that can do the easy color filament swap. So I want to show you an example of that since I happen to be holding one. Let me disable the screen for a second. Oh my God, here we go. All right, so here is an example of a 3D print that is going all the way through and is utilizing color filament swap. So the corners are all, like sides are all white all the way through. You can glow through it and it looks really good. And the image is just reversed on each side. That means I can hold it up against light and glow through it. I can make nice little signs out of it. And I can also make, like, for example, glowing prints that are glowing all the way through. So that's what I wanted to do is, oh, by the way, if you haven't seen this, this is a yoke dog that my good friend Brandon, who also teaches with us on occasion, created. So I wanted to make yoke dog and some other cool, colorful prints and maybe incorporate them into this SAO. So that's exactly what I did. I took the glowing filament, I took the Mr. Yuck design, which was publicly available and pretty easy to use, and I made a glow-through version of Mr. Yuck. So I sized the glowing version of Mr. Yuck to basically fit on this and use a soldering iron to poke 2 little holes for the LED. And I just held it up to a light source so I could see through Mr. Yuck's face, like where they were, and make a little tiny hole for the LED to go through. You mount the LED, and then this is where things start to get crazy. They want you to like solder the legs of the LED to just like a bunch of pin headers. And the way that they kind of like propose to do this is a little silly. It's like, this is the part I don't agree with. So I did not like this part. It also involved a ton of epoxy, which I did not have any. Best I could do was hot glue. And I tried to just kind of like force fit this into the socket of the badge at first. And I will say it sort of worked. Eventually, somebody named True helped me out by taking pity on me and actually helping me solder and hot glue this in. The look that he gave me when he agreed to help me out with this SAO design and then looked at it and he pulled on it and it came apart and he just looked at me and he's like, it's not even soldered. And I was like, I'm so sorry, dude. Like, I just wanted to get this done fast. So shout out to True also for helping out with my ridiculous design and getting it up and running. This ended up being really cool. I'm really pleased with how the Mr. Yuck design came out, and the fact that I also had several other people contribute UV LEDs to charge up these QR codes and also Mr. Yuck and make it look even better. It was so cool to have people at the conference see what I was going for and help me kind of cross the finish line when it came to making an emergency last minute SAO. So I still intend to present my new design anyway. I'm still getting those boards made, but this was a cool way of seeing what someone can do in literally 24 hours, kind of like a hackathon SAO. So yeah, crazy. Oh, I am sorry, James. I will get to the bottom of that. There are definitely some quirks going on with our restream system today. Good to see you though. I'm glad we've just been talking about the conference and yeah. Oh, so yes, the galaxy effect looks so good. Yes. Okay. So I want to show this off again. Let me, all right, here we go. So this galaxy effect, I'm going to sacrifice one of my UV LEDs to show off the other one. And that is a touch sensitive SAO. So what I didn't realize is that these can function as inputs and outputs, and they can affect each other because they're controlled by a microcontroller on the back that's kind of passing things between each other. So if I add this one, I don't know how well it's going to work with all the electronics I just have jammed in here. I guess that's kind of the point though. So this starts up and we'll do that. And then see if it works. Do you see that? Do you even understand how cool that is? Ugh, there's so much going on here. And like this is just a delicious design. Like, it's so incredibly cool. So the one that I'm touching is obviously touch sensitive and is controlling the other one and allowing me to move on the spiral. So it's pretty incredibly cool, you guys. Like, for a hardware conference to focus this much on other people's design, it was a very controversial decision. I was there helping volunteer to make these badges, and I heard the conversations going on where they were a little bit nervous about whether people would find this badge to be not as exciting as they wanted, because usually people come to Hackaday Supercon to hack the badges and get them to do all sorts of interesting things, and they usually include like a screen or some other things that make those badges have a little bit more pizzazz. But these ones were very basic. They were designed as like a canvas to highlight other people's designs. So it was kind of a risky move. And I feel like in this case, it actually kind of paid off because people got to really show off their SAOs and also plan on some interesting interactions between various hardware components. So yeah, I'm pretty blown away by all the things I managed to get done in a single day. I think this conference is so powerful for a lot of people because it allows you to go into a group of people who are just very impressive, very cool, but maybe a little intimidating, and sit down and work on something that they like too. You could be someone who is maybe just kind of peripherally in like the hacker field and still come there and have skills that people find useful, interesting, and entertaining, especially when they get to see whatever you've brought to the conference to show off. Now, I didn't have a lot to bring this year that I was super passionate about showing. It was just this conference always kind of falls off the end for me because it's after DEF CON and like all of our brains are dead at like after the like heavy cybersecurity conference season. But the fact that this isn't a cybersecurity conference, it's much more about like the love for hardware, art, and interesting applications. It's very, very refreshing for new ideas, new hardware. I always come back with new materials, and this year is no exception. I found some flexible, like kind of neon looking LED strands that I'm really excited to start working with. Last year, we had the like individually addressable like fairy lights that had just come out, which I was really excited about. So it never fails that I find interesting and exciting hardware at Supercon. And again, if anybody from Supercon is on the stream, I really enjoyed meeting a lot of you, and I got to meet some of my friends again that I haven't seen in quite some time. So yeah, super awesome conference, and I'm very much looking forward to it. All right. So what else did I want to talk about with Supercon? I think we mostly talked about that. You guys in the Discord server are doing a fantastic job of telling me when interesting stuff is going on. I wanted to point out this other thing I saw, which was pickle. So, okay, I want to talk about the concept for this, and thank you for sharing it. I think this was SAQ that shared it. Somebody in our Discord shared it, and it was let your AI clone lip sync in video calls. So these people are all really busy, and but they have jobs. So the goal here is that like this lady who's like running, or this person who's like, working out or whatever, is able to be on camera, like looking very official, like in an outfit of their choosing, with a background of their choosing, completely lip synced, while this person is just like jogging. So you could, in theory, you could be talking to someone who is like in the bath, fully nude, and you would never know because their AI avatar would just look like this. Do I believe that this is going to work and that it's going to look good and convincing? I don't know. And how much does it cost to actually try? Well, it's one of those tech startups where the sticker shock is a little high, and then it looks like it's not going to be that much money, and then when you actually try to pay for it, it actually is. So we have a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I don't know what this means. Like I don't know these other people, and I don't know how they perform. It's also kind of funny to see the limitations on it. So let's see, if we wanted to get started, what would this be like? Oh, only $24 a month? That's great. I could totally afford that. Guess what though? It's per year, and you can only pay per. Oh wait, can you pay per month? There we go. Okay, there we go. All right. So now we have basic plan, standard. It's more if we want to do per month, but if we want one personalized clone, 15 hours of time generation usage, and all video platform, we can get started. Okay, do we want to do it? Do we want to do it? All right, for $30, if you guys want to see me attempt to start doing the stream as just an AI avatar, at least for one, and you can tell me how convincing it is, I'm really interested in this technology. Obviously, if this is convincing enough, you might be getting fished by a service like this. And it's important to know whether or not like this kind of service is actually viable. So I just want to like shout out everyone for telling me about Pickle Inc. If you've seen this before and you think it's great, then let me know. I will try it. I think it'd be fun. But I haven't actually, they're kind of light on demos in terms of like on their main page. Like I don't really, I don't know. I haven't seen like a lot of demos of their stuff. So I am interested in these like AI cloning things. They seem extremely creepy, a little concerning, and also I don't know, like kind of cool, maybe. I think that if it was just like something absolutely wild that was my avatar, that would be even more fun. But we'll see what I can get away with in the wild new field of digital catfishing when services like this are just available for $30. Oh yeah, okay, thank you for fessing up. You were just so active in our Discord community that sometimes I just falsely attribute accomplishments to you, which is probably a good thing. Let's see. All right, so on top of that, I wanted to show off some of the things I really enjoyed from Supercon. So I'm gonna have to reshare this. Give me 1 second. So Supercon ended up having some projects that were pretty unforgettable. I think one of my favorites might have been this capybara. It was so cute, and I think we got some good footage of how it works. All right, this video looks like the correct one. All right, so everybody loves a capybara. In this case, there was a guy who got together some plastic, and this plastic is called bone white, and it's something that I have never found a great use for. I bought a spool of this forever ago, and I was like, oh, it looks so cool. It was also very cheap. And it's just been sitting there. I really haven't gotten too much on. So this person 3D printed a capybara head in this bone white and realized that it also looks like kind of old school, like Bakelite plastic, like the kind that used to be on like old PCs. So this capybara head can be worn. And when it's worn, if you boop this pumpkin on top of its head, it will print out a photo of what it sees. So this is a camera, and it also has googly eyes that are magnetic and can be swapped out. I have never seen anything like this. So for one, 3D printed googly eyes making an appearance. Like I've never encountered that. The fact that they exist is news to me. And I really think that this design was probably one of the cutest things I've seen in a while. as somebody who's also taken it full send with a costume that restricts your visibility, I will say that wearing this thing must have been absolutely awful. So kudos to the creator of this for not only like committing to the bit and wearing it for a significant amount of the conference, but also enduring like attending one of the most visually stimulating conferences in the world with like slitted forward vision through a couple of holes. I have to say, like, I was fascinated by everything I was seeing, and not being able to see it because I was busy doing a capybara bit would probably be a step beyond my level of discipline. So as you can see, when you boop this, it it thermal prints a little picture of what it sees. And it was cool to see some of the actual like process of this like working and like, I don't know. I just thought that as a wearable, as something that got people's attention, it was interactive, it was adorable, and it also had like a retro kind of throwback look and used material in a way I hadn't seen before. Of everything at Supercon, I think that honestly, this might have been one of my all-time favorite things. So I actually got to do a brief interview with this creator, and I will be putting it out in a video later. It was such a cool opportunity to be able to talk to someone who made a project like this and find out all the pieces that made it work. So if you want to see more about this, stay tuned for some cutout videos that will include some features. Let's see. Oh, okay. So James says about the pickle AI video, a bunch of people were using this for court, like the guy that used Zoom for his court case while driving. The court was for driving without a license, which he still didn't have. Yeah, I think I often see those like virtual like Zoom appearances on court where people are like doing something that they shouldn't be doing if they were in a courtroom, and then the judge gets very, very mad. So a service that like makes you look presentable in front of the judge might not legally be super sound, but it might end up being something that people use and need. Who knows? All right, so I wanted to answer a couple questions on the YouTube channel. One of them I just wanted to do a little bit of a redirect. So let me share this screen again. So I go through the comments all the time, and they're fine. Yeah, I love all of you. You do you have some wonderful thoughts to share. One thing I have to say is everybody is going crazy, and by everybody I mean like not that many people, but still enough that it's causing a lot of comments to this Internet Archive under attack. Why do people think this is the government? Basically, like the Internet Archive went down and like then came back up, and it doesn't seem like any data is missing. It was like a data breach. Like people like stole data about the people who were like uploading, maintaining, and using the Internet Archive. But there's like a conspiracy theory going around that this is an attempt to like erase history in preparation for, I don't know. All I'll say is that based on my knowledge of the story, there has been no evidence that data has been deleted or surgically removed or anything. It does appear to be a data breach and then a denial of service attack. These don't even appear to necessarily be related. So while it was a bad time for the Internet Archive and people feel very passionately about that, I think most hackers do. I'll just redirect a little and say, like, at the moment, there's no indication that not only it was a conspiracy by the government or that there was even any data deleted. Does not seem like that was the intention of the attack. It was more intended to take the information from the archive rather than insert or delete. Yeah, there's a lot there. Have you tried debugging in ESP32C3? I understand they have built-in JTAG debugging, so you can single step and set break points in Platform IO. I haven't found any setup/installation guide. So yeah, when working with microcontrollers, like being able to step through your processes is one of the more valuable things you can do, because you can identify exactly when it's crashing or what line it's on or what part of its operations are causing issues. That sort of built-in debugging is fantastic for anybody who wants to get a deeper dive into it. And while I don't personally use Platform IO at the moment, I should, but it's hard. Yeah, like this is something that would be very valuable to hackers who wanted a new and easier way to debug their ESP32C3 without needing external hardware. All right, I'm gonna skip over the ones for the Internet Archive for now. I feel like we've addressed that. Someone also thinks my Wi-Fi visualization is like Sesame Street for hackers. I take that as a compliment. Thank you. We've got more conspiracy theories, and then let's see. I want to know this because what happens when there's no internet and I can no longer use my bulbs? So is there an upside to this exploit? And I know Python. Cool. All right. So a while ago, I made a video about how you could hack IoT smart bulbs. And the idea would be like, if the server goes down that lets you control those bulbs from anywhere, then you would not be able to communicate with those light bulbs anymore. Fortunately, they are built for, well, convenience and not necessarily security. So as a result, we can directly connect to them with Python, access their API, and set them manually, provided we're on the same network. Now, obviously, that would make it so you couldn't control them remotely, but in the scenario you have where the internet is gone, you've probably got bigger problems. Okay, so on my wiretapping the wiretaps story, this was the Chinese linked hackers being able to access the wiretap compliance systems that basically harvest data that is designated for collection through legal wiretapping processes. Now, the United States obviously has a very sophisticated built out system for surveillance. We're well known for that. And China just went ahead and accessed it. So as something that could potentially have leaked a lot of sensitive information, definitely worrisome because you don't know what information has been earmarked. And obviously, if it's part of an active investigation, that's very sensitive. So the thought here is like maybe if China wanted to get, the tip off, if anybody that they were working with was under surveillance or anything, this would give them an early warning and also some insight into investigations that the United States was doing. Very, very interesting. Let's see. What happened to your channel, bro? Why is there no views? Did you hack them all? I thought you had great content. Must be because of the YouTube purge. Nope. Just a business that went out of business. We originally made the Nullbyte YouTube channel with a company called Wonder How To. They owned the Nullbyte channel back when, well, the Nullbyte website back when it was a forum and there were no videos and it was just random people contributing community hacker guides. Everybody got really mad after some beef between Master Occupy the Web and the people running that business. They had a big schism, and then I was hired to write basically just like tutorials and guides as a beginner immediately after that. I decided that that was not very fun, and I wanted to do a video project instead, so I created the YouTube project, but it was still technically their property. So after they went out of business during the pandemic, that channel just kind of sat there and didn't really do much, which is why I've been focusing my energy on doing live streams, kind of leveling up by going to all these conferences and learning about all the hacking stuff that's going on and getting to meet people one-on-one in person. Back when I did Nullbyte, I didn't really have much of an opportunity to go to many of these conferences, which is funny because as the channel was blowing up, I was going to conferences less and less. But now that I get to go to conferences more, I get to teach upwards of 300 people per conference at the various workshops my group organizes. So I get to meet tons of people every single time, and I've really been enjoying it. So yeah, it's not really about the YouTube purge stuff. It's more about how big that channel got and then how it basically got abandoned for a good long string of time. We've actually started making more videos for the Nullbyte YouTube channel. Whether or not they choose to publish them and when they choose to publish them is TBD. However, it is looking like there could be a comeback on that, and we're pretty excited. Wow, this is a comment on a much older video, but it's still worth a read. All right, so this video was talking about signals intelligence with Kismet, and Kismet is still a great tool for signals intelligence, mostly because it has some detection built in that allows you to spot some like kind of basic malicious behavior. So I remember having Kismet plugged in and then having it just light up like a Christmas tree because I'd forgotten and left my Wi-Fi pineapple plugged in elsewhere in the house. So all the suspicious behavior it was doing was immediately flagged by Kismet and caused me a lot of concern and anxiety until I was able to actually track down what it was. So this is a suggestion for putting together a war driving tablet. And I really like that concept. I love war driving. It's a lot of fun. But this looks like it is it is kind of an extensive build. I would love to see what type of build you end up creating, because for me, I've been kind of downgrading to like microcontrollers as much as possible, either using that or like a Raspberry Pi to organize the collection and upload process, as it really doesn't need a tremendous amount of power. But I am interested in a tablet build. So if you do end up making one, please, I'm super interested. Although I don't have a lot of advice on this because my builds are quite different. Yeah, okay, cool. And then I'm also just pleased that somebody appreciated my Burp Suite 101 for OS command injection. That was totally new to me. It was actually a lot of fun to present, and I plan on doing some more cloud security stuff this week. So if you enjoyed that lab, if you want to do more cool Burp Suite stuff, we've got more on the way. So I was going to also attempt to cram in another demo on the last stream that I did, but it ended up being a lot harder than I thought. While it was still a relatively basic attack, it required you to write JavaScript, which I'm not especially strong on. So as a result, I'm going to try to find something that is just Burp Suite and doesn't involve languages that I don't know what I'm doing in, because I feel like it feels a little disingenuous to teach you guys a technique that I don't understand like a large component of. All right, and then also I heard people talking about this Cyberdeck backpack in the elevator at Supercon. Like they were stoked about it and discussing like how much it would cost to actually like fill up all of this. It's probably a lot. This backpack was pretty cool, and with Christmas coming up, I imagine yes, a lot of people just need this backpack. If you're looking for a gift for that hacker in your life and you really are dedicated to spending some money on it, you know, there you go. Also, I found that a lot of people were pretty upset about this Kaspersky story where the company just deleted itself but didn't leave. It just installed a friend, some random antivirus owned by a company called Pongo Inc. or something like that, that replaced Kaspersky and often switched out the VPN as well, which is obviously a startling thing to find. This action does not seem very illegal now, does it? That's correct, my friend. But also, loving my baby. The problem here is that they've been banned from the United States, so they basically got to get out. The rub here is like, why would they then install another third-party app? Like, oh, we want to leave our customers protected. It's like, I don't know. Like, it kind of seems like you're just trying to like swap out for another business and just like see what you can get without, and whether or not the United States will actually pursue that. I guess we'll see. But yeah, very, very sketchy behavior that surprised and startled a lot of people. This one is just a cool guy smiley face. Okay, I'll take that comment. Never use a Russian antivirus. You never know what info they're actually gathering. I would say that this is paranoid, but like based on the fact that allegedly Kaspersky was involved in an NSA or like a CIA like malware breach where like some of these advanced cyber weapons the CIA were using were like leaked by a contractor that was using Kaspersky. That might not necessarily be too paranoid. I also advise against anything Google has its nasty paws in. Okay, I'm not gonna second that advice, but I also won't refute it. All right, so here's another comment. Glad you've been doing cloud stuff, hacking stuff lately. You know anywhere good to practice that especially has cloud type scenarios? The one thing I've had a time finding like besides what you're doing here. Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of setting out to do. Yes, but also no, I guess is my answer. I am attempting to make more of these guides that maybe have some infrastructure aside from just Portswigger Academy. For example, I've set up a couple of the like damn vulnerable nuggets as a web server that runs on a microcontroller locally, so I can do this, you know, wherever. What I really would like to do also is get into some AWS labs, but unfortunately they do require credit card information. It's a little bit annoying. I'm not like afraid to put in my credit card, but it is just a little bit annoying to do this in ways where if I make a mistake, it could end up being kind of expensive. But I would like to do some AWS focused labs because I think like showing you guys how to do some more active attacks against a set of AWS environment would be really cool and interesting. But, you know, basically requires me to provision an AWS environment and like, not correctly necessarily, but wrong in the right way for the demo. So I would like to go through and do a couple cloud security labs where we're like provisioning something in AWS and then attacking it because I like configure it wrong or like I set something up wrong. But those are much more complicated to set up. So give me a little bit of time on that, but please keep reminding me because I'm very excited to work on these. All right, I'm also going to switch back to the chat because I've been looking at the the comments elsewhere. Oh, okay. Good night, SAQ. Everybody needs to get some sleep. Let's see. Kismet will alert you, which is cool, to deauth and spoofs. Yeah. What I found is that Kismet will alert you when a nearby wireless device is rapidly changing its name. So if it's like the same like MAC address, but the Wi-Fi name that it's advertising is changing rapidly, that's a sign that it's like doing some man-in-the-middle behavior or something like that. And as a result, it's something that we would want to get warned about. So yeah, like Kismet is out of the box, like pretty good at finding some of these malicious behaviors. And that's really the one that triggered the most on the Pineapple was it was like mimicking all these different like Wi-Fi networks, but it was using the same MAC address, which was giving it away. So like Darren Kitchen from Hack5 said that it's not that hard to like, get around that. And that if you wanted to spin it up and have it do like randomized MAC addresses and really hide it better, then it totally could do that. But, they didn't build it in because they didn't want to make it that easy for people who are just running these without changing anything or knowing how they work. So some people might point out that like, yeah, like you could get around like some of the detection and stuff of like Wi-Fi pineapples in pretty fundamentally easy ways. But the point is like, they just don't want to get their product banned. So like, they're not going to make it so easy that it's like actually impossible to detect. Would Kismet be good to run on a lower power hardware 24/7 as a deauth and spoof detector? I would say yeah. Generally, Kismet can be pretty good, and you can also have like Kismet nodes that just forward information, so they're not even acting as the primary processor. I think they're called Kismet like drones, I think is what they're called. Are like kind of like edge devices that are just forwarding packets that they see to another Kismet node and then just acting as another interface. That kind of concept I think is really cool, because if you can reduce the amount of processing that a low power, low cost node needs to do and just forward it to like a bigger node or a server or a cloud server or something like that, then I think you could end up coming up with something that's lightweight enough that you would be able to pull that off, get 24/7 monitoring, and then have a relatively easy time at doing it. Let's see. All right, so that is, yeah, so you could definitely write a startup script on the Wi-Fi Pineapple that allows you to randomize MAC addresses and change some of the things that like give it away. Like there are like a handful of things that reveal a Wi-Fi Pineapple to be a Wi-Fi Pineapple that are relatively easy to detect, like if you are looking for it. And that's, like I said, it's that way for a reason. But if you really want to obfuscate it, if you want to make your Wi-Fi Pineapple sneakier and better, then there are things you can do, like running a startup script and do some other things that are a little bit different from like the default way that it comes. All right. So that's most of what I wanted to talk about today. The AI clone is something I would love to try out next week. So if you want me to try to host the stream as, just like a random character, then I can attempt to do that. And if you guys would be fooled by me fishing you with that, then you know that maybe this technology is actually something we would need to be a little bit more afraid of. So I'm really excited about that. Also looking at having some guests on the stream in the near future. So we should have some interesting characters on to talk about cybersecurity careers and also some more cool stuff coming up for the C3 conference. So the C3 conference is something that's Chaos Communication Congress that I look forward to every year, especially this year. Getting out of the United States is going to be really nice. Spending some time with a bunch of European hackers is going to be great. It's really something that we have gotten bigger and bigger every year, and this year will be no exception. We're going to be bringing more people than we brought before, and we're going to have even more classes, workshops, and talks. I've applied for one main stage talk, and then I'm probably going to be applying for a lot more, like kind of sub talks and stuff. So there'll be lots to do there, and if anybody there is from the show or whatever, please come over, say hi. We're also going to have, for the first time, our own assembly, or at least we're trying to have one. That means we will have our own physical space to come by, hack, hang out with us, and that is new. We've never done that in Europe before. We just got started doing that in the United States this year, so that's going to be pretty incredible. And I don't know, I think that I like C3 even a little bit more than DEF CON, with the exception of the incredibly long flight. It is a really nice trip. It is a lot of cool and interesting people, and frankly, like it's just as beautiful as Supercon in terms of like blinky stuff and art, and like a lot of people who are outside the cybersecurity community coming together to like augment hacker culture and create a more diverse community of people with various skills. So I love to see that. It's going to be a great melting pot of ideas. And again, I get wonderful ideas from most conferences I've been to. At C3, is actually the origin of my Pusheen lights. So the little cute Pursheens, which are a legally distinct cat character that looks very similar to Pusheen. These little cat lamps have been a big hit, and I saw a bunch of them kind of all chained together on a random display at C3 last year. So this year we've taught like, we've sold hundreds of Pursheens and then done lots and lots of workshops with them. It was really cool to see an idea and then kind of bring it back and grow it and improve on it and add things to it. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing this year. So if you're going to C3, please let me know. We're going to be doing lots more than we've ever done before. And again, it's one of my favorite hacker conferences, if not my favorite hacker conference that I get to attend. Could I host the show as Killian with his permission, of course? That is a brilliant and fantastic idea. I think I will do that. So Killian, has been a little busy lately. So if I was just like myself and then like a pre-recorded version of myself as Killian, that might be an interesting stream. But yeah, I'm interested to try that out. And I think that Killian would probably be the perfect candidate to be my like deepfake victim for the Pickle AI experiment. All right, so that is just about all the time we have for today. Hopefully everybody in the United States is able to relax a little bit today, or at least take your mind off things after a very stressful night last night. I was walking around downtown Los Angeles at like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I heard a loud, low horn and spotted a burning trash can. And that's when I knew things had been decided. So yeah, hopefully everyone is able to de-stress a little bit and enjoy the rest of the week. I will see everybody on Friday for the news stream, of which I'm sure there will be a lot. And yeah, if you are looking to support the stream, we really appreciate it. We do this twice a week, every week, and you can go to varonis.com/Kody. That's Kody. It lets everyone know you appreciate the stream, you want it to keep going, and we'll keep doing it every week. All right, thank you to everyone who showed up today. I love to have everyone in the chat, and also you can look forward to more cutouts this week. I've scheduled bunch of them, and a lot of them are quite spicy. So the one about hackers like tricking people who are trying to find AI nude generators was probably my favorite that we just released yesterday, because hackers hacking scammers is like kind of it's been throughout time that this is happening. So not a lot of surprises with that. But check out our latest clips. We'll see you again on Friday with Killian, or maybe me role-playing as Killian. See if you can spot the difference. If we do just do a stream and it's just Killian though, and we tell you it's AI, that would be a very funny trick. So look for little details. All right, everyone. Thanks for hanging out today. We'll see you on Friday. Goodbye.